Hi, this is Tyler from Massage AME. We're doing a video on the triceps brachii, the muscle on the back of your arm, your upper arm here. And we're going to show some location, we're going to show some palpation, and also some massage techniques. Hopefully this will help you in your practice, or if you're just interested, please feel free to watch. Thank you. So we are looking at the triceps brachii. It is the muscle that is on the posterior side of the upper arm, or this would otherwise be called your brachium. So what we're looking at is three different heads of this muscle. After all, that's why they're called triceps. We have what's called the lateral head, we have the long head, and we also have the medial head. So her arm is out to the side here. And so on the lateral side, we got this part of the tricep here, the lateral head. And then here on the posterior side, this is the long head right through here. And then we have what's called the medial head, which I'm sure you figured it out, is on the medial side of the arm. And all three of these heads have three different origins. The lateral head out over here actually begins in the lateral aspect of the humeral shaft, probably about the last maybe quarter or so. And it, again, from the lateral side. The long head on the posterior side has an origin point that is found on what's called the infraglenoid tubercle. So the head of the humerus being that bone that's in the brachial compartment, the head of the humerus fits into what's called the glenoid cavity, and that is found on the scapula, or your shoulder blade in layman's terms. So that head of the humerus in the glenoid cavity right there, there is a protrusion just below that cavity known as the infraglenoid tubercle, and that is where the long head originates. And then what we have here is the medial head, which is found again on the medial side. And the medial head is also on the medial aspect of the humeral shaft, probably about, again, that last quarter or so of the shaft there. All three of these heads, they start in their origins, and they all meet in one common insertion point. They meet down here on what's called the olecranon process. What many people refer to this spot as is the elbow, but for those of you who are anatomy enthusiasts and massage therapists alike, body workers, you know this joint to be the elbow. That is the technical and proper way to refer to your elbow. This bony protuberance here, this bony landmark, that is the olecranon. And that is where all three of the heads meet. That's the insertion point. It's what the muscle moves. So when it concentrically contracts, that's what it's pulling at. It's pulling here to extend the elbow joint. And when it comes to palpation, what you want to do is you want to, again, go to the posterior side of the brachium, and the triceps are easily found just like so. You can just pick up the muscle just like that. And you can also feel it in your hands if you wave back and forth, just sort of kneading, if you will. Okay, and that gives you a nice full grip of the muscle. Now, depending on the person, it could be larger, it could be smaller, but a lot of people will wonder, well, what all can I do with the triceps? It seems like such a small muscle. Well, you want to try to treat all the pathways of the muscle, if you will, all the different insertion and origin points. And remember, it's a three-headed muscle, so there's more to do here than just, straight down the arm like that. And again, over here, you're going to find more of that lateral head. Here, you're going to find more of that long head, and over here is more of that medial head. Now, there is a consideration to also have here regarding working on the triceps, or even the biceps for that matter, is remember on the medial side, I'll show you more about that here in a second, there is a nerve that runs between those two muscles, the biceps and the triceps, the brachial nerve. We want to make sure we're aware of that. But at any rate, when we are feeling for that muscle, you can actually contract it moving this way. So you are extending the elbow, putting this muscle into a concentric contraction, and you can start to feel the muscle more pronounced then. Over here, again, you can feel for that lateral head, and then the long head and then the medial head right through here, okay? So this is just how you find the muscle, how you feel it in your hands when you want to work on it. So again, here's that medial side of the triceps right through here. And right in between the two muscles, the biceps brachii and the triceps brachii, that is a soft area that you want to be considerate of because the brachial nerve is right there. It's very uncomfortable if you were to put any deep pressure on that area. We want to try to avoid it when working on the triceps brachii. Now, when it comes to working on the triceps, we're actually going to start using some massage techniques. Again, we have all three heads. We have located them. We know what we're doing here. And so I like to first just start out by using very broad strokes to warm up the triceps brachii muscle. You can do some kneading, some gliding here. And then I like to take a soft fist and then just starting from that origin of the long head, which is up by the scapula, and then just working inferiorly, so proximal to distal, if you want to look at it that way, moving all the way down. And again, just for the sake of body mechanics and supporting yourself, I like to use my other hand over my soft fist to support my technique. And I'm also just dropping my body weight into it. I'm not muscling it. This will save you in your career. So that gets things warmed up. We got work here we can do along the medial head, and I'm using more of my knuckles this time, or even part of the pad here on the fingers. Into the long head, and shift around here. The lateral head. Okay. Once I've done some warming up here, what I like to do next is I like to take a seat from here. So working on the triceps seated, again, I'm using my body weight. I'm not muscling this technique. I'm not going to wear out my body here, my arms. So I'm going to start up by the scapula, and I'm going to use my first two knuckles here, okay? Just going to strip down the medial side of the triceps brachii. And I'm not going too far medially. I'm not going into this area right through here because that will just trigger that brachial nerve. It doesn't feel very nice, so you don't want to do that. And then we got another pathway. So we're going to move medial. We're going to keep working out laterally. The second pathway right here is the long head, again up by the scapula, and just tracing down. And how I'm using my body weight here is I'm actually turning my torso. So I'm going to exaggerate just a little bit. You can see it here. I'm kind of doing this, okay? Again, an exaggeration. That's how I use my body weight though. So I'm not just forcing my shoulders to do all the work. Very subtle, but you might see it. And then more laterally, we're up by the scapula again, that bony prominence here called the acromion, for those of you who know it. But I'm just going to strip down. So we're also going to get, some work on even the deltoid muscle to some extent doing this technique here. Okay. Then once you've done that, you can add another extra layer of pressure or another technique you can use if you don't want to use your hands or your knuckles too much. Drop an elbow into it. Again, starting medially, start up by that scapula and just work your way down. Also, when you start up by the scapula, you also get into some of the teres muscles, teres minor, teres major, even a little bit of the lats to some extent. And then moving on to the long head, again, we just strip down. I'm not pushing, I'm just using my body weight. Pressure okay there? Make sure you're always nice to your clientele. Don't want to hurt them, in other words. So make sure you ask them if the pressure is too much. Down that deltoid again. And the lateral head of the triceps. Now, some of you may be saying, well, okay, that's all well and good, but we really haven't touched the insertion point yet. This is true. You're going to find, though, that a lot of people are going to need work just above the insertion point. There's a lot of tension that seems to occur at just this area of the triceps. It seems to be the brunt of the force that most people experience when doing their day-to-day activities. So go ahead and spend more time working in this little section right here of the triceps. Just, kind of work it out. You may find a trigger point. You can spend some time working on that. There's definitely one right there. But for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to be working on the trigger points, but you definitely will find them working in this little section through here. And then you may notice that we're edging our way closer and closer to get to our insertion point, where the muscle moves the joint, the elbow joint to be exact. Okay, I move the arm up to give me better access to the insertion point. Now, this is a bony landmark, so this isn't something you're going to want to dig into, deeply, because it'll be painful. You don't want to do that bone-on-bone action here. But all the same, you can do some light work around this process. I'm just doing a little bit of friction with my fingertips just to encourage a little bit of work around that olecranon there. Oh, looks like we got something going on right there too. That's just right above the olecranon process. We'll have to get that later. But at any rate, you need to make sure you're also aware of a couple other things that are going on here as well. So you want to work over the olecranon, of course, but you do not want to go medial or lateral to it. And the reason why is because there's two soft spots on either side of the olecranon. And by doing so, you may trigger the ulnar nerve or the medial nerve, and you don't want to do that either. It's painful. Okay, we don't want to work on the soft spots. Okay, so this is a prone position that our client is in, and this is working on the triceps from this position. And so there's some tips and tricks just to help you work on the triceps better. I hope it's helpful to you. We're also going to do some work in the supine position, and hopefully that'll be beneficial to you as well. Now here, we're looking at the triceps in the supine position. So this is still the posterior side of the brachium, okay? We're just in a supine view of the body. So she is face up, okay? Again, we have our medial head right, or that's the biceps actually. Your medial head is right here. But anyway, it's good to bring that up because your biceps are right here, the triceps are over here. Remember, there's that soft spot here in the middle. You don't want to work in that area because of the brachial nerve, okay? So we have our medial head right here. And then we have that long head right through here. And then the lateral head right through here. Okay? Now again, if you need help finding it, you can contract, concentrically contract, that is, by extending the elbow joint, and that'll help the muscle pop out more so you can find it. And there it is. I can grab it in between my fingers and my thumb. Okay. So now that we have a good idea of how to find the triceps here in this position, I'm going to go ahead and add the medium here. I use a cream. And what I like to do from here is I like to let the elbow joint rest. This may be uncomfortable for some people to just stay extended like that the whole time. But what you can do is you can take those knuckles or that finger pad and you just work down the muscle. And again, I use my body. Use my body weight. You gotta be mindful of your body mechanics, okay? If you have to open up your stance more, that's totally okay. Just as long as you're not, bending over and leaning into it, or pushing into it rather. You wanna just lean, let your body do the work. And I'm getting all three of those pathways again. Lateral, then there's the long head right here, and then the medial head. Okay. And then also, just for more of the sake of the origin and insertion, here is the elbow right here, so there's your olecranon. And then right down through here, okay, so we start finding the scapula. In the scapula, again, we're not going to be able to necessarily get into the where the infraglenoid tubercle is. However, I did want to just draw attention to it because while you're working here, it's a good way to access some of that area right through the lateral side of the scapula. In here, you got your subscapularis muscles, and also you can get into the teres minor and major muscles. Also, again, some of the lats. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention while you were here. Okay, and you can also perform a stretch here. This tends to work, or stretch rather, more of the lats, but you can also give the biceps some attention, or triceps rather, excuse me, by doing this as well. Now, when you go to stretch, again, this stretch is going to stretch your lats, but it also is going to do some favors here for the triceps as well. For the sake of your female clients especially, or those who have breast tissue, it would be beneficial and expedient to instruct them to place their arm across their chests. So go ahead and do so. And what they're going to do is they're going to hold down their breast tissue so that way it doesn't rise up with this stretch and cause exposure, unwanted exposure. So when we do this stretch, we put our arm underneath the elbow, we bring it up, back, and down. We bring it up, back, and down. You can get a stretch all the way through that area to help open everything up more. You can get a stretch all the way through that area to help open everything up more. Well, there you have it. There's your video on Triceps Brachii. I hope it was helpful to you. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to go ahead and leave it down below. Like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much.